Square-jawed, stern-faced, with piercing blue eyes and a cleft chin, Werner Poetschke was a fearsome figure among the officers of the formidable SS Panzer Regiment commanded by Joachim Peiper. Despite his extensive experience commanding tanks in the Leibstandarte, Poetschke was known for his impulsive, volatile, and unpredictable character. He also harbored a deep contempt for the enemy. His conduct in battle demanded absolute commitment from his subordinates, and any sign of disobedience or weakness was punished harshly. He treated his own men so brutally that he was even removed several times from the Leibstandarte Division and the Das Reich Division. In today's program, we will explore the story of this feared, loved, and despised SS officer whose death came tragically in the final days of the conflict. We will also focus particularly on Poetschke's role in the Ardennes, which was immortalized in one of the most famous recordings made by the Germans during the Battle of Stoumont. Born in Brussels in 1914, Poetschke moved to Berlin with his family and grew up there. After completing military service, he joined the SS in 1935 and became part of the Leibstandarte Regiment in 1937. It was during this early period that he met Peiper. Poetschke's rise through the ranks was far from easy due to his behavior and attitude. He was a solitary and unpopular man known for his cruelty. He spent 2 years as a second lieutenant, whereas most ascended much faster. Since he didn't fit in with the elite Leibstandarte unit, he was transferred to the Der Führer Regiment, which would later become part of the Das Reich Division. He was awarded the Iron Cross Second Class in Poland and was decorated again in 1940 for his bravery in France, where his reconnaissance company captured an intact bridge over the Meuse. Days later, he personally destroyed an enemy motorcycle unit and 6 anti-tank guns near the French village of Dissen. That feat might have earned him the Knight's Cross, but he only received a long-delayed promotion. That same autumn, a superior wrote the following about him. He is a very erratic character. He acts on his own and without authorization. Although he occasionally achieves extraordinary feats with the reconnaissance troops, at other times he undertakes useless escapades with unclear orders. He has arbitrary rules and makes no friends. He lacks the experience needed to lead his men. In an elite unit like the Der Führer Regiment, such an evaluation was damning. The same brutality had previously led to his expulsion from the Leibstandarte Regiment. Nonetheless, his peculiar behavior continued in his new assignments. Although he earned the German Cross in Gold for his bold actions during the 1941 Russian campaign, he was not well received there either. In April 1943, after taking part in the Kharkov counteroffensive, he was returned to the Leibstandarte, a highly unusual move. From this point onward, he served directly under Peiper's command, and his evaluations improved. Perhaps Peiper favored officers of this kind, fully committed to sacrifice. Was it Poetschke's bravery, or even a death wish, that drove him? One of his comrades commented that Poetschke was completely unpredictable. One day he could be pleasant, and the next, your worst enemy. Another soldier said he could never feel at ease when Poetschke was nearby. At the same time, this officer was a master of tank warfare and embodied the tenacious SS warrior archetype. No one questioned his courage, though even his superiors believed it bordered on recklessness. While other officers like Peiper were reserved and well-mannered, Poetschke would say out loud what others didn't dare to think. He was feared by his subordinates because of his explosive temper. He tolerated neither disloyalty nor lack of discipline, even in small details like saluting or uniform standards. A minor misstep could trigger severe punishment. His unstable personality made him dangerous. A reckless order from him could cost the lives of the men in his unit. During the fierce winter battles of early 1944, Poetschke was wounded 3 times, already serving as the new commander of a panzer battalion. These actions culminated in his nomination for the Knight's Cross, which he earned after desperately defending a position south of Ternopil in western Ukraine. While Peiper was recovering at home, Poetschke repelled a massive Soviet assault with just 2 Panthers and 40 Grenadiers. He then launched such a wild and daring counterattack that the few surviving enemies fled in panic. They showed no mercy to the enemy. He was awarded the medal for this action, in which he killed 156 enemies, taking only 2 prisoners. But Poetschke's contempt was not limited to the enemy. In 1944, he was investigated by a military tribunal for imposing unnecessarily harsh punishments on his own men during operations near Kharkov the previous year. In the Waffen-SS, such an accusation could easily cost someone their life. Ultimately, the charges were dropped. By that stage of the war, the German army could not afford to lose a soldier like Poetschke. The next major battle our protagonist took part in was Normandy. There, once again, he demonstrated his brutality, both against American and British forces and any civilians suspected of being partisans. After narrowly escaping the Allied encirclement at Falaise and fighting throughout his unit's retreat to the German border, Werner Poetschke was now preparing for the battle where he would play his most prominent role yet. Integrated into Kampfgruppe Peiper within the Leibstandarte division, Poetschke was given command of the 1st SS Panzer Battalion, undoubtedly the most powerful unit in Peiper's Kampfgruppe, consisting of nearly 80 tanks, including Panzerläufe and Panthers. For this new mission, Poetschke was ordered to break through rapidly to the Meuse River, with no restrictions and no allowance for delays. Nothing was to stand in their way. Peiper, known for his aggressive warfare style, described it as routine. During the Ardennes offensive in December 1944, SS Sturmbannführer Poetschke, at age 30, held a rank just below that of Peiper. It's worth noting that the rank of Sturmbannführer is equivalent to a major. Although they seem to have a cordial relationship, there were clear tensions between them. Peiper was closely connected to Heinrich Himmler and well-positioned among top Nazi leadership. The propaganda machine portrayed him as a battlefield hero capable of anything. However, this idealized image didn't sit well with other veteran officers who knew Peiper often left the front lines, especially when things got difficult. Why was he always ill and sent home to recover? Was it really just the cigarettes, the coffee, and the sleepless nights? In January 1944, Peiper led an offensive in Russia that, though initially promising, ended disastrously. In August, just before the suicidal push toward Avranches, he reportedly suffered a heart attack and was once again withdrawn. Poetschke, on the other hand, endured the inferno to the very end, again and again. Peiper once said that Poetschke was an excellent soldier, but the most ill-mannered and poorly behaved man he had ever commanded. He added that Poetschke had no regard for his subordinates and led them directly into slaughter. Other officers confirmed that Poetschke would often force his men to advance at gunpoint and punish even the smallest infractions. Those punished were sent to the engineer company, which had effectively become a penal unit tasked with clearing mines, often under enemy fire. When the German offensive in the Ardennes began, Kampfgruppe Peiper attempted to break through the northern sector. On December 16th, the attack was a failure. They barely left their starting positions. On the 17th, they reached Stavelot, and by the 18th, they advanced to La Glaise, still far from the Meuse River. On December 19th, Peiper's final day of forward movement, Poetschke led one of the most iconic actions of the Battle of the Bulge, an assault on the town of Stoumont. The attack on Stoumont began at 6:45 a.m. with a mortar bombardment, setting the stage for the main assault. 15 minutes later, tanks and infantry moved forward. 7 Panther tanks, accompanied by several Panzer IVs, advanced down the main road from La Glaise towards Stoumont. Infantry units flanked them from both the north and south of the road. By 7 a.m., the German armored column was nearing the outskirts of Stoumont. The low visibility allowed them to approach the eastern edge of the town almost undetected. German engineers and paratroopers slipped past the first American anti-tank guns guarding the town's entrance. That was the signal for the remaining American guns to open fire. Due to their close range, the effect was devastating. As a 90 mm American anti-aircraft gun positioned near the Stoumont church joined the defense, the German advance began to falter. It was at this critical moment that Werner Poetschke personally intervened, rallying his men to push forward. Under intense anti-tank and infantry fire, the German armor resumed its advance. Driving his men forward, just as captured by the cameras filming for German propaganda, Poetschke remained in the center of the action, reinvigorating the attack each time it began to stall. In this footage, we can identify him as the man wielding the Panzerfaust. As a result of this action, Peiper recommended him for the oak leaves to his Knight's Cross and wrote the following in his citation. The attack, which had begun immediately, soon came to a halt when the road was blocked by fire from 4 anti-tank and anti-aircraft guns, as well as 6 heavy anti-tank guns on the outskirts of the town, alongside enemy tanks concealed in the northern woods of Stoumont. Knowing that a bold push would succeed, even at the cost of material, Poetschke placed himself at the head of his tanks and drove them forward by his own example. Still, the assault failed, and some vehicles began slowly withdrawing to take cover on the opposite slope of a hill. At that critical moment, Poetschke was overcome with furious determination. He climbed out of his tank, grabbed a Panzerfaust, and threatened to knock out his own crews if they retreated another step. That brutal gesture proved decisive. Ignoring the deadly fire and mounting casualties, the tank surged into the town, firing wildly, spreading panic, and breaking through the stubborn resistance. We captured 150 prisoners, 4 anti-aircraft and anti-tank guns, 5 heavy anti-tank guns, 4 Shermans, and a large cache of enemy equipment. Despite this, the action was not enough to earn him the oak leaves at that time, but it would be added to his record after another major engagement in Hungary. After the failed attempt to reach the Meuse, Peiper was once again pulled back to the rear. Poetschke, however, was entrusted with command of what remained of Kampfgruppe Peiper and ordered to launch a new attack south of Bastogne, a battle we've already analyzed in a previous episode. Following the defeat in the Ardennes, the Leibstandarte division was transferred to the Hungarian front, where it took part in 2 major offensives, Operation South Wind on the Hron River bridgehead and Operation Spring Awakening near Lake Balaton. During the fighting at the Hron bridgehead, Poetschke led from the front, commanding his armored battalion with remarkable energy and aggressive spirit. His leadership allowed his forces to overcome several critical situations through sheer audacity and determination. He played a key role in the capture of the towns of Muzla and Parkani, where he successfully established contact with a German unit crossing the Danube from the south. From there, he pushed northeast, driving the Soviets back across the river. Between February 17th and 24, 1945, during this operation, his battalion achieved the following results: 23 enemy tanks destroyed, along with 182 artillery pieces of various types, 55 trucks eliminated, and approximately 300 enemy soldiers killed. In recognition of these achievements, combined with his actions in the Ardennes, Poetschke was finally awarded the oak leaves to his Knight's Cross on March 15, 1945. Ironically, he would die just 9 days later. After the failure of Operation Spring Awakening, the Leibstandarte was once again on the defensive, trying desperately to hold back the Soviet advance toward Vienna.